Hello guys, welcome back to my channel, Maison African Motives. Still working on mathematics N3. So actually in this platform we shall focus on the question paper which was actually written in July 2019. That is 2019, and it's an X paper, so you can see, and we shall just quickly rush through the question. I think from the previous questions I've discussed with you guys about the instructions that you are supposed to know and so forth, but we shall just quickly rush through the question and see what we were actually supposed to do in this case. All right, so the first question is to prove that x minus 1 is a factor of f of x, and then factorize completely if f of x is equal to. All right, so the first thing that we have, okay, let's just write our function here. This is 1.1. We want to prove that it's a factor of this function of f of x, which is 6x cubed minus 11x squared plus x plus 4, like this. All right, so remember we are given that this is a factor which is x minus 1. So how can we prove that x minus 1 is a factor? All right, remember the consideration, guys, that you are supposed to know here, that if we are given that this x minus 1 is a factor, we shall equate that x minus 1 to 0, like this. Then you find the value of x, which means x will be equal to 1, positive 1. So what it means is that for the value of x which is equal to 1, this function is going to be equal to 0. So what do I mean? I'm trying to say that f of 1 is supposed to be equal to 0 if x minus 1 is a factor. So that is what you're supposed to obtain. This is a consideration actually that I talked about, that when you are given that x minus a is a factor, like this, if it is a x minus a, then it means that f of a should be equal to 0. That is what I'm trying to say. All right, so if this is the case, therefore let's just substitute and see if we are going to obtain a 0 there for f of 1. So f of 1 means in place of x you're going to substitute 1, so it will be 6 into 1 to the exponent of 3 minus 11 into 1 to the exponent of 2 plus 1 plus 4, like this. That is what this part actually mean. So using your calculator to simplify, you're going to see that this is going to give you a 0 there. So therefore it means x minus 1 is a factor. All right, so that was the consideration there. But the question did not ask about a factor only. Remember, the question goes on to say that then factorize completely. So how are we going to factorize this completely? Remember, if we are to factorize, we have to divide, use our long division. This is what we are having, which is to be divided by x minus 1, which is a factor. So that is like this long division. We are going to have x minus 1, our factor, into the whole expression. So if this is actually something that is hard to, guys, remember concept from your N1 mathematics where you used to have the long division. That is the concept that you're going to apply there. So it's 6x cubed minus 11x squared plus x plus 4, like this. So this is what you're going to have from that expression. So remember, from your long division, always, guys, is the first term divided by the first term. 6x cubed divided by x, so this is gonna give us 6x squared because we are dividing by x. So this is gonna give us 6x squared. All right, so this is 6x squared, like this. And this is to multiply back each and every term, which means it is to multiply x, so it's 6x squared times x, which is 6x cubed to the exponent of 3, 6x squared times minus 1, which is minus 6x squared, like that. So that is what you're going to have. And remember the concept that after multiplying back, you have to subtract. So you have to subtract these two. All right, that is, if we are to subtract here, as we can see, it's 6x cubed minus 6x cubed. That this one is a 0 actually. And here we've got minus 11 minus 6. Take note, guys, it's minus 11 like this. Then we've got this minus, and we've got this minus on 6 like this. This is what you're supposed to do on your calculator, and this will give you a negative 5. So that means we are going to obtain negative 5x squared because there's squared there. All right, then after that you have to drop all the elements which are remaining, all the terms, which is this plus x and this plus 4. We have to drop those elements or those terms, which is plus x plus 4, like that. So as we can see that we still have a long way to go because we have dropped elements. We redo whatever that we did from this part of dividing. So it's always the first term, and this is our first term here, divide by the first term. So it's minus 5x squared divided by x, which is going to give us minus 5x, because it's like this. So this into this is going to cancel and remain with 1x. So it's going to be negative 5x. As what this did, this is what it's going to do again. It's going to multiply everything back here. So it's minus 5x times x, which is minus 5x squared, minus 5x times minus 1. So this minus 5x and this minus 1 multiplies, it's going to be plus. So take note, it's a minus and a minus, so that's a plus. So we know that after that we have to subtract. So guys, this is just a repetition, as you can see. So we subtract there. So what are we going to have at the end? So as we can see, these two terms are the same. This is minus, this is minus, so definitely they will cancel each other. So it's x minus plus 5x, which is just same as x minus 5x. So x minus 5x is going to give us minus 4x, because this is same as 1 minus 5, which is minus 4x. Then we drop the element or the number that is remaining. This time there's this 4, so we have to drop it down, okay, because it was not part of this subtraction. So you just have to drop down. That's a plus 4, like this. Now we do the same again. We divide the first term, always divide by the first term. So it's minus 4x divided by x, which is going to give us minus 4. So this is going to be a negative 4, like this. It multiplies back everything back here. So that means it's minus 4 times x, all right, which is minus 4x. Minus 4 times minus 1. Take note, it's minus and minus, which is a plus. So it's going to be plus 4. And we repeat the subtraction and see what you're going to have here. So if we subtract these two, as we can see that it's actually these two are the same, these two are the same. So this one is going to give us a 0 there, which is to actually confirm that what we have done is correct, because remember, you are using a factor here, so you must obtain a remainder which is 0 there when it is a factor. So which means actually what you did there is fine. So remember, the question was for you to factorize this part here. So just like as we know, guys, a factor, if we talk of 6 divided by 2 like this, it gives us 3. This is a factor of 6, and this is a factor of 6 again. If we multiply these two, actually they must give us what? They must give us 6. So that is the concept. When we divided this expression by this expression, we obtained this expression. So it means these two should give us this whole expression. That means 6x cubed minus 11x squared plus x plus 4 is equivalent to this first factor, just like 2 times 3. So it's the first factor times another factor. So it's x minus 1 times another factor on top there, which is 6x squared minus 5x minus 4, like this. That's another factor. So it's a quadratic factor, this one that we have obtained. So definitely I can't just say this is my final answer. I have to try and factorize. All right, so we have to factorize this. What can we do? Let's just maybe just do it aside. It can help us because this is a quadratic that we are supposed to factorize again. So how do we factorize a quadratic, guys? This is, remember, there's nothing that is common, and the coefficient of x squared is not a 1, so we have to do the longer way of multiplying the first term and the last term. So remember, multiply the first term and the last term. That's 6 times negative 4, which is negative 24x squared, like this. So you've got we need two factors of this, actually factors of negative 24 that you're going to use and give you a negative 5. So which are these terms? We've got negative 8 and 3. Let's just try this, guys. Negative 8 times 3, this one gives us negative 24x squared. And if we add these two, minus 8 plus 3, that's a minus 5. So these are the two factors that we need, that we are going to replace in place of the middle term, which is the middle term, the minus 5x, this one, we replace with these two terms. So our expression is going to look like this: 6x squared, we replace in place of this middle term these two terms, which is minus 8x plus 3x, like this, minus 4. Now it's something that is clear because we now have got 4 terms. So remember, when you've got 4 terms, you separate them into 2 and you factor out what is common for these first 2 terms and for these 2 terms. So here we've got 8 and 6 and 8. What is common between these two numbers is 2, and we've got x squared and x, so we're going to factor out 2x. Remember, here we take the highest common factor, which is the one with the smallest exponent. All right, then we can divide 6x squared divide by 2x. Remember, this divide by this, 6x squared divide by 2x, which is going to give us 3x, minus 8x divide by 2x, so this one will give us a negative 4. And already, if you are to cross check, this remaining part is actually the same as this part in this bracket. So what are we going to factor out so that it will remain as it is? Definitely I have to factor a plus 1 so that it doesn't change, because the main idea is to make sure that these two brackets are the same. So the moment this is the same as this, we have to factor at a plus 1 so that it won't change, like this. So these two brackets are the same, therefore I factor that common bracket. Then I'm going to remain with 2x plus 1 in another bracket. So that means this is what I'm having from this 6x squared minus 5x minus 4. I'm going to obtain these two brackets. So that is what we are going to now replace here. So our answer is going to be x minus 1 into the two brackets that we obtained here, 3x minus 4, and another one was 2x plus 1, like that. So that is going to be our final answer now. So we have managed to factorize this. So to factorize is to put in brackets, but it must be in its simplest form, because the question wanted us to factorize completely. So that is the last stage, this one. All right, so as you can see, guys, these questions, if you don't treat them with care, then actually they are going to confuse you. So you have to revise as much questions as possible. Then the other part again is to factorize as far as possible again this whole part here. So we are given actually this is 1.2 and we've got a plus b squared minus 2 into a plus b like this plus 1. So in most cases what I have seen is that we always try and factorize this as it is direct. No guys, yes, it's fine, you can do that, but actually here you can simplify this in an easier way. I'm going to explain both ways, but you can actually just say let a k be equal to a plus b, so that at least it can make your working easier, so that you know that in place of a plus b you are going to substitute with k. So in this a plus b it is going to be k squared minus this 2a plus b, so it's going to be 2k again plus 1 like this. Now it's something that is easier for me to factorize because here I can just see that the coefficient of x squared of k squared is 1. So I'm supposed to have 2 brackets of k here and another k here. So we are going to focus with 1. What are the factors of 1 that gives us -2? This is only when the coefficient is a 1. So we can do that type of factorization direct. So factors of plus 1, it's -1 and -1. -1 times -1, it's a positive 1. If you add this, you obtain -2. So you've got -1 and -1. But remember, guys, we introduced k here in place of a plus b, and this is my answer here. So I'm supposed to replace that k now with that a plus b. So therefore, our answer is going to be a plus b in place of k minus 1. In place of k, we've got a plus b minus 1 like this. So this is going to be our resultant, or which can be written actually as a plus b minus 1 squared if you want to write it as a squared. It's another way of just writing it. Okay, so if maybe you wanted to do it, yes, this question you could have just done it direct. If you understand your factorization to that extent, it's also fine to just say that, okay, here I'm having this bracket and this bracket are the same. So which means it's a quadratic expression actually that I'm factorizing, and here the coefficient of this squared, it's a 1. So I'm going to take this part which is being squared, which is this a plus b, into one bracket. I'm going to have a plus b into another bracket, a plus b again. So remember, this part represents this part. So I'm going to focus with 1. What are the factors of 1 that we add to get -2? So as we can see, we are still back to this -1 and -1. So you're just going to put -1, -1. That's it. These brackets are the same, so you can write it as this squared. So still you could have just done it direct. That is, if you actually understand your factorization, then you do it, then you can do it. But if it's still you're having some challenges, please just do it stage by stage. All right, what about this one? 1.13. It was just, let's just see what they are trying to say there. We are given 1 over square root of a plus 3 over square root of a. So some of the questions, they are just to scare us, just for you to be scared with nothing. Actually, don't be scared with questions or whatever that you be given. This is what you had, guys, and as you can see, it's actually 2 marks, which means there's nothing there, but they just want to scare you with the square root. Okay, what do we know? We actually know that when the fractions, if you're dealing with fractions and the denominators are the same, like maybe you've got 1 over 5 plus 3 over 5 like this. When the denominators are the same like this, don't stress yourself, just add the numerators 1 plus 3, which is 4 over 5. It's an advantage that occurs only when these are the same. So that was the concept they are testing you. Can you see that these two are the same? So just add 1 and what? And 3. So 1 plus 3, that is 4 over square root of a, like this. Everything over, you move on the same thing, we are subtracting, these two are the same, so subtract 7 minus 3, which is 4 over square root of a. All right, and we all know that in mathematics, guys, x over x can cancel to give us 1 because these two are the same. 2 over 2 gives us 1, that we know. So what's so special about this? Because this and this are the same, so they can also cancel. There's nothing special about these two, so they can cancel each other and obtain a 1, just like in any other mathematical concept that we understand. So that was the idea there. So sometimes they can just give you questions like that, and you see so that it was just actually 2 marks there. All right, then another part on 1.3 again is to simplify. So what am I going to do here? We know that we are dividing, so let's just introduce multiplication there because we are dividing. And remember the concept, once you introduce the multiplication, you invert the second fraction, you interchange the second fraction. All right, so I'm just gonna rewrite as it is, but we just have to interchange first so that at least we can perform our factorization and so forth and so forth. But it's very, very important that you introduce a multiplication here. Take note, it was a division, then we introduce a multiplication. The moment you introduce a multiplication, this changes the second fraction, so this will be written on top. This 8a squared minus 50b squared will be written on top like this. All right, over, and this one will be written below, so just rewrite that as it is, which is 2a squared minus 3ab minus 5b squared, like that. All right, so that's what you're going to have. And take note, guys, we've got 7 marks for that, which means there's something that we have to do there, a lot. But let's see what a lot do we have there. If I am to cross-check on the first part there, we have to do the factorization. So actually the factorization has nothing to do with this part, so just do it aside. Don't disturb your question, guys. There, your question has to be clear and straightforward so that someone who is marking understands what's happening. So you do your working aside. All right, so remember we've got 4 terms here, so we have to do by grouping. So how can we group these, guys? Or do we have anything common for the first 2 here? Yes, we've got something common, so we can group them into 2 like this. So there we've got a negative and a negative, which is common, so we can, and x here, so you can factor out negative x like this. Once you factor out negative x, this is going to be negative and negative, it's a positive. X and x cancel, which means you're going to remain with a, and here negative and negative cancel, x and x cancel, which means you're going to remain with a plus b like this. All right, then here what is common, as you can see, it's plus y, which is common. We do not have a negative, but plus y is common, so which means here I'm going to be left with b, here I'm going to be left with a. Actually, guys, these two are the same. To write this as a plus b and b plus a is one and the same thing. All right, this one, so you can just write it as a plus b. You factor out one of the bracket, you factor out this bracket, which is the same. Then these two should be written in a bracket, but take note, we are supposed to write it as minus x plus y like this. Just like minus 2 plus 3, isn't it the same as 3 minus 2? It's one and the same thing. So this one is the same as y minus x. Instead, you can write it as y minus x like this. So this is what you're obtaining from this part here on top. It gives us these 2 brackets, a plus b into y minus x like this. Okay, everything over x minus y of which there's nothing that I can do there. All right, it's another stage anyways. Multiply by, we move on to this part. We have to factorize there. What do we have there? It's 8a squared minus 50b squared, like that. So what can we do here? Let's see if we've got something common between the numbers 8 and 50. That's a 2 can be common there, so you can factor out 2 actually there. So if I factor out 2, it's going to be 8 divided by 2, which is 4a squared, minus 50 divided by 2, which is 25b squared, like this. Actually here there is nothing that is common, but the type of an expression that we are given, we can see that this is a difference of 2 squares, guys, because this is same as 2 squared, this is same as 5 squared. Remember from your difference of 2 squares that this is same as 2 squared a squared minus 25 is same as 5 squared b squared, like this. So you know that once we can write in terms of exponents of 2 like this, we can just have 2 brackets of 2a and 5b, right? Just simple like that. So it's 2a, one bracket adds and another bracket subtracts. So another bracket will subtract, one will add, like just like that. That's how you perform your difference of 2 squares. Or you can find the square root. Square root of 4 is 2, square root of a squared is a, plus square root of 25 it's 5, square root of b squared is b, just like that. One adds, another one subtracts, but remember there was a 2 which was outside of the bracket. So that's how you do your difference of 2 squares. So this is what you're obtaining from these two. We are obtaining 2 into 2a plus 5b into 2a minus 5b, like that, guys. All right, let's see another part actually that we had. This part again, we have to perform the factorization there. That was 2a squared minus 3ab minus 5b squared. So what do we have there? Remember, the coefficient of a squared is not a 1, so we have to perform the longer way of factorization, where we have to multiply the first term and last term. That's 2 times 5, which is negative 10. It's negative 5 there, so it's negative 10 a squared b squared, like this. All right, so what are the factors of 10, negative 10, that we are going to add and obtain negative 3? Which are these factors of 10? So let's try negative 5 and 2 there. There's something negative 5 ab and 2ab, like this. If we multiply these two, we are going to obtain negative 10, is true. If we add, are we going to obtain negative 3? Because we need negative 3 here. So this is minus 5 plus 2, which is negative 3. Yes, so these are the two terms that we are going to replace into the middle term here in place of minus 3ab. So it's going to be like this. It's going to be 2a squared. We replace minus 5ab. We replace this plus 2ab. All right, I think it was wiser for us to write it the other way. Anyways, that is what we have, but I think it was wiser for us to start with this, a positive. This one, as you can see, this one and this one, they are very, very much common. So we can rearrange 2a squared plus 2ab. Okay, then we write these two together, this one and this one together. All right, so you can just start with this one, it is squared, minus 5 whatever, minus 5ab minus 5b squared, like this. All right, so at least these two, they have something in common. As you can see, guys, minus 5, 2 and 2. So we can group. Remember, it's by grouping. So into 2 is common and a is common, so you can factor out 2a here. That's 2a squared divided by 2a, which is a. 2ab divided by 2a. As you can see, 2 and 2 cancel, a and a will cancel, which means you're going to remain with a plus b. So this is 2 and 2 cancels, a squared and a, this one will cancel and remain with 1a. But you don't cancel, you just do it in your head. Okay, then this here, negative 5 is common, and also b is common, so it's negative 5b like this. So negative 5b cancels the negative 5, which means you're going to remain with a positive a. Negative 5 and negative 5 cancel. B squared divided by b is going to be plus b. Take note, negative, negative, it's a plus. And the major thing is that these two brackets here should be the same. That is why we have to do this. These two brackets should be the same. So you just take this bracket a plus b like this. What are you remaining with? You are remaining with 2a minus 5b in another bracket like that. So this is how you factorize. All right. So this is what you're going to take here and substitute here. Remember, this is where we are writing this. I substitute this a plus b into 2a minus 5b. Okay, so this is 2a minus 5b like that. So once this factorization is done and all the brackets are fine, you have written them like this, you can cancel whatever that you can cancel if possible. Right, so we can actually cancel this and cancel this. 2a minus 5b, 2a minus 5b, this one can actually cancel. But there's something that is common. These two cannot cancel these ones, but there's something that can be done for this to cancel, because this is y minus x. This is x minus y. They are not the same. It's different, just like 2 minus 3. And we say it's the same as 3 minus 2. No, this is not the same. But 2 minus 3 like this is the same as minus 3 plus 2. If this is to be written with its negative, these two with its positive, then they are the same. But this is not the case here. As you can see, our y is having a negative, but here it was having a positive. So how do you make these two to be the same? You factor out a negative. What you just do, guys, this is the principle because of the time that we are having now. For these revisions, you just factor out a negative like this. The moment you factor out that negative, these two brackets will be the same. So you are going to write this bracket as this one, which is x minus y like this, over x minus y. All right, times here we are left with 2 into 2a plus 5b like this, everything over 1, because here there's nothing, just like 1. So now these two are the same, so they can cancel each other now. Take note. So this negative and 2 is now negative 2 into 2a plus 5b. That's how you work out these algebraic fractions. So it's something that you are supposed to actually work on, revise on, to understand much about it. You have to work on it, revise on it, so that it can be actually be easier that way. But as you can see, these are most and some of the typical questions that you actually have, and that's how they actually ask the questions. So you must be very, very careful. So it's always our tradition, guys, that we have to revise more. So we shall come back again, working on the second question and so forth, till we finish out this question paper as we prepare ourselves with the exams which are ahead of time. So that's it, guys, from Mason African Motives. Till we meet again.